After a decade of training and years of coaching bodybuilders, athletes, office workers, parents, students, complete beginners, everyone in between, you start to notice patterns, not in exercises or programs, but in people. You realize the difference between someone who transforms and someone who stays stuck has nothing to do with genetics or equipment. It comes down to how they think, how they handle difficulty, and how they respond when progress stops being exciting. Most people imagine training as a physical journey, reps, sets, strength, muscle, but the longer you do this, the clearer it becomes that the physical changes are just the side effects. The real transformation is internal. It shows up in your habits, your discipline, and the way you negotiate with yourself on the days when skipping is the easy option. You begin to understand why some clients progress quietly and steadily, while others collapse under the slightest friction. People rarely quit because training is too hard. They quit because training reveals part of themselves they've never had to face. The people who truly change share a handful of qualities: consistency, patience, emotional control, and the ability to win the silent battles in their own head. And the ones who don't change aren't weak or unmotivated. They just keep losing those inner battles without realizing it. Eventually, all of this condenses into a few core principles. Not cliches, not motivational quotes. The real psychological foundations behind long-term progress. The truths that explain why some people build strength, confidence, discipline, and momentum, while others spend years restarting the same journey. One of the first things you learn after watching people struggle for years is that nothing about physical improvement happens automatically. The human body can become unbelievably strong, explosive, skilled, but it won't do any of it voluntarily. It's capable but reluctant. Humans aren't built to be weak or fragile, we are built to survive. And survival has two sides. On one side, the body is a world-class adaptation machine. Give it repeated stress and a clear demand, and it will rebuild itself stronger. On the other side, survival means conserving energy whenever possible. Muscle is expensive. Strength is expensive. Learning new skills is expensive. Your physiology always tries to take the route that burns the least fuel unless you convince it otherwise. This is why training feels difficult, not emotionally, but biologically. When you stand in front of a bar or prepare for a tough set, your body isn't saying, let's be lazy today. It's saying, is this effort necessary? And unless you consistently signal that the answer is yes, your system defaults to comfort. That's the paradox at the heart of every transformation. Your body is capable of extraordinary adaptation, but only if your mind forces the adaptation to happen. This is why the fight is always you versus you. Your biology wants stability. Your goals demand stress. Progress begins the moment you understand that discomfort isn't a warning sign. It's simply your evolutionary wiring trying to save energy. When you stop taking that resistance personally, everything changes. Training isn't punishment, it's communication. You're telling your body, adapt, we need this. And once the message is consistent, the body does what it's designed to do, rebuild you stronger. Another pattern you notice immediately as a coach is that people who transform their bodies aren't the ones who train the hardest, they're the ones who train the most consistently. Intensity creates sparks, consistency creates results. Intensity looks impressive, it's loud, dramatic, exciting. Anyone can hype themselves up for a big session or one heroic workout, but the body doesn't adapt to occasional peaks, it adapts to regular exposure. The simple, unremarkable work done repeatedly is what builds real progress. The biggest transformations I've seen didn't come from the athletes who went all out every session. They came from the people who treated training like brushing their teeth. Something they do whether they are energized, tired, stressed, bored, or not feeling it. They showed up during the flat weeks, the slow weeks, the weeks where nothing seemed to change. Ironically, those are the weeks that matter most. Progress is built in the invisible sessions, the ones you barely remember. The people who struggle are the ones who expect training to feel exciting. The moment it becomes repetitive, they assume something is wrong. But repetition isn't a sign of failure, it is the process. The body loves routine, biology loves rhythm, and the mind learns discipline through patterns, not peaks. 10 years of progress is mostly built on days that felt forgettable, not the PRs, not the hype, the regular days. Tuesday nights after work, early mornings, the just do the basics sessions. These are the days that change you. Consistency is simple, not glamorous, but it's the single biggest predictor of long-term success. After coaching hundreds of hours, you start seeing something fascinating. Training reveals a person long before it changes them. Not their overall discipline, but their micro-patterns. The split-second reactions that show how they truly handle stress. People think training is about reps, form, maybe willpower. But every set is a stress test for your psychology. The moment a rep slows down or discomfort appears, the truth comes out. You see who panics, who rushes, who hesitates, who collapses emotionally, who stays calm, who fights for control. These tiny reactions map perfectly onto life outside the gym. The person who gives up the second something feels heavy usually gives up early in life too. The one who rushes through discomfort tends to avoid uncomfortable conversations and responsibilities. The one who emotionally short-circuits under fatigue often does the same under real-life pressure. Training doesn't create these patterns, it exposes them, but it also gives you a safe space to change them. You can practice staying calm when the rep fights back. You can learn to breathe instead of panic, stay present instead of flinch, push through instead of escape. Rep by rep, set by set, you develop emotional control under effort, a skill most people never train. This is the quiet power of micropsychology. Every session becomes a mirror, and if you're willing to look, it becomes a classroom too. Most people don't quit because training is hard, they quit because results are slow. The modern mind is used to immediacy, notifications, entertainment, dopamine on demand. Training is the opposite. It's a slow, subtle process where the work comes long before the reward. Muscle grows in millimeters. Fat loss happens cell by cell. Skill takes months of almost before it clicks. Nothing happens fast enough to satisfy the part of the brain addicted to quick feedback, so people panic. They assume they are doing something wrong. They assume their genetics are bad. They assume they are just not meant for this. But none of that is true. The problem isn't physical, it's emotional. They can't tolerate a delayed payoff. The people who transform see the process differently. They don't expect weekly fireworks. They judge themselves by the one metric they can control: behavior. Did they show up? Did they do the work? Did they stay consistent? They understand the progress is quiet and that the body changes slowly because lasting adaptation is supposed to be slow. The moment you stop demanding instant results and start valuing consistent effort, everything accelerates. Ironically, the less you obsess over change, the faster you change. Progress is slow on purpose. Accept that and you immediately put yourself ahead of most people. One of the clearest differences between people who succeed and people who restart endlessly is this: successful people stop waiting for perfect conditions. Everyone else waits for the right moment. Better weather, more motivation, a free evening, the perfect gym setup, the ideal mood. But those moments are rare and they don't last. Calisthenics especially forces you to face this reality. You show up and the bar is freezing, the ground is uneven, the metal is wet, the wind is killing your balance, the park is crowded, you are tired, you didn't sleep well, there's always something. And these imperfect sessions are the ones that change you. Discipline isn't a motivational speech. It's a decision to act independent of conditions. When you stop waiting for circumstances to cooperate, you start becoming reliable. Your actions stop depending on mood, energy, or environment. And every time you show up on a day that tried to push you away, you build a form of self-respect no shortcut can give you. You strengthen the identity that says, I do the work even when it's inconvenient. And once you build that identity, normal days become easy, life becomes easier, you become harder to derail. Imperfect conditions build perfect consistency, and consistency builds everything else. After enough time under the bar, enough early mornings, cold sessions, and days where motivation is nowhere to be found, you start noticing a shift that has nothing to do with muscle or strength. You realize that training changes the way you behave, not in a dramatic, life-altering moment, but in small, consistent ways that stack quietly over time. Most people move through life at the mercy of their moods, productive when they feel good, inconsistent when they don't. But training doesn't care about your emotions. It asks you to act whether you are tired, stressed, unmotivated, busy, overwhelmed, or distracted. And every time you do the work anyway, you reinforce the same message: I do what needs to be done, regardless of how I feel. That's the part people underestimate. Training becomes a daily opportunity to prove, again and again, that you don't fall apart just because conditions aren't perfect. You prove you don't need motivation to act. You prove that you can sit with discomfort without shutting down or running from it. And the more you do this, the more stable your behavior becomes, not just in the gym, but everywhere. Over time, that stability becomes one of the strongest forms of confidence a person can build. Not the kind based on appearance or numbers on a bar, but the kind built on trust, evidence that you can rely on yourself. Training gives you the ability to stay grounded when life isn't, to act without negotiating, to follow through without overthinking, to hold your line when everything around you tries to pull you off it. It doesn't happen overnight, but slowly, session by session, you become someone whose actions don't swing with their emotions. Someone solid, someone reliable, someone you can count on. If there's one thing I hope you take from all of this, it's that training is so much more than building a stronger body. It's learning how to live with yourself, how to act when it's uncomfortable, how to stay steady when things move slowly, how to keep promises no one else will ever know about. These pillars aren't rules, they are a way of understanding the journey, a way of recognizing that the challenges you face aren't signs of failure, but signs that you are on the right path. Discomfort means your body is adapting, repetition means your mind is learning, slow progress means you're building something that lasts. So, if you're in the middle of the grind, keep going. If the progress feels invisible, keep going. If the conditions aren't perfect, keep going. Every rep, every session, every quiet decision to show up is shaping you in ways you won't even notice until one day you look back and realize you are not the same person anymore. Not because of the muscle or the strength, but because you build the discipline, identity, and the resilience that made it all possible. That's the real transformation. Hope you enjoyed the video, legends. I'll see you in the next session.